Okay, hold on.
Hi, Fran.
Hi, hiya, I'm here.
Yes,
All
I
right.
see you. Thank you. I'll just change your name.
Yay, yay.
All right.
Sue, you want to start it?
Okay. Before you begin, I just want to welcome everyone. And remember that this is being recorded so that if anybody wants to follow this in the future, beware because they can see what's going to be happening here and in the chat room too. So I'm turning it over to Susan and Barbara.
Okay, hi, I'm Susan. I'm a co-chair of the Parks Committee. Barbara Titlebaum is the other co-chair. And welcome everybody to tonight's meeting. The agenda item is the discussion of an RFP with the Parks Department for mobile food carts on the boardwalk. And that's about it. I'm going to turn it over to Eddie, who will, I gather, introduce the guests.
Yes, we have here is Kat and Alex Han from the Parks Department concessions, and take it away, guys.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alex Han. I'm Chief of Concessions with the Parks Department. I understand since Eddie had reached out to us, letting us know that the community board had some questions regarding our plans to solicit for food carts along the boardwalk. That's what we're here for. So we plan to issue the solicitation. It includes locations at parks in all 5 boroughs. So it's not just unique to this Coney location. It's something standard that we do every year for many years now. And so these are locations that were previously operated under a permit that we had issued to the Alliance for Coney Island. That agreement with the Alliance expired at the end of this past season. Our understanding is that, due to a variety of issues, including the pandemic, for the last 2 years or since 2020, there had actually not been any food carts operating. And so we're taking another opportunity to see if there can be additional interest from folks in the business community who want to operate on the boardwalk.
I know food carts, I assume you mean legal food carts.
Well, we do not permit illegal food carts, only legal food carts.
That's the problem. Susan, you want to go?
Joe, you wanted to say something?
I did.
Please do.
I did. I said, I'm assuming he's talking about legals and not illegals. He said they have nothing to do with illegals. And I said, obviously. So, and that's it. I'm not saying.
Oh, okay. That's it.
Well, Alexandra, can you just briefly explain the stage at which you are issuing the RFP? Has it already gone out? Or people bidding? Or what is the timeline?
We have not issued the solicitation yet. The solicitation is still being drafted. And so this is an opportunity for, the community board to provide us with any feedback in advance of us issuing that solicitation. The process is that Parks drafts the solicitation, and then we need to send it over to the Mayor's Office of Contract Services and the city's law department to review the solicitation before we issue it. So we'd like to issue it as soon as we can. These are permits that would start beginning 2023. If we do receive responses for any of these locations, the successful bidders will receive a 5-year permit to operate at those locations.
Will these mobile carts be spread along the boardwalk or mostly in the amusement area?
So
We have. I'm sorry.
Now, Sue, there is a list of exactly where they are putting them on the thing.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
I didn't
So
realize.
what he can answer is, how did you pick these locations based on what? That's what you could answer.
Sure. So these are locations that were on the prior permit that we had issued to the Alliance of Coney Island. We met with the community board back in 2016 regarding these locations. And so we have not added anything new. These are the same exact locations that were on the prior permit. And the locations, just for folks who do not have a copy of the notice, are at West 32nd, West 19th, West 8th Street, and at Brighton 15th Street. So those were all pre-existing locations under the prior permit.
Yelena?
Good evening, everybody. I would take longer than anybody because I was part of the meeting in 2016. There were many different locations. We were able to make park department take this occasion out. I'm looking at the printout of your Exhibit A. Okay. In addition to location you just mentioned, we have West 32nd Street, West 28th Street, West 19th Street, West 8th Street, West 3rd Street, Brighton 15th Street, West 33rd Street, West 27th Street, West 22nd Street, West 16th Street. This is, I don't know, I have never heard about I'm a community board member for 18 years. I have never heard about any agreement with Alliance, except 2 or 3 years ago, I received email from then chair, Ms. John Weiss, asking about if I ever heard about any kind of agreement between Alliance and Park Department, because cart was vending on West 8th Street. So I really appreciate that 5 years ago, 6 years ago, whatever you call it, you listened to us. But there are a lot of changes since 5 or 6 years ago. First and foremost, I'm looking at your RFP and I see processing and non-processing card. It's not only difference in operation, it's big difference in weight. Meaning, I mean, in addition to being community board member.
Excuse me, Yelena, could you explain the difference for people who don't know between practicing and non-practicing? That would help.
Non-processing their cards. I mean, maybe somebody from park department explain it in more sophisticated way, but some cards, processing cards, that's cards when you see in the street offering gyra, offering they're preparing food actually. So those cards, sometimes they have generators and they are heavy. Non-processing cards, that's cards that sell pre-packed sandwiches, chips, water, juices, ice cream, and on and on. So it's not only difference in operation, it's a big difference in weight. For the last 5 or 6 years, I believe everyone knows that our boardwalk is in a terrible condition. Also, from all locations I read, some of them are not even do not have ramp. So my question is, how, for example, processing cart, which is heavy, would be transferred to West 32nd Street or one of them for sure I know does not have a ramp. So it should be vehicle on the boardwalk because you cannot move. This is one. Second, correct me if I'm wrong. And
Yelena, wait. Yelena, let him answer each question and you can have as much time as you want. Answer the first one about the weight, which is a major issue on our boardwalk. Are you aware of that, Alex?
Yes, I am. These were all locations that we have vetted, and the 4 locations that I referenced are the only 4 that we are seeking to solicit. So I'm not sure if the notice included additional locations, but after further review, we are only proceeding with the 4 locations that I had mentioned.
So you said West 8, what else?
So let me finish. So West 32nd Street, West 19th Street, West 8th Street, and Brighton 15th Street. Now the expectation is for there will be no vehicles allowed on the boardwalk. These are all push carts that are non-motorized, and it will be the obligation of the operator to manually move the push carts from the nearest entrance and move it to the location where they're permitted to operate. Now, you know, this is standard for many parks throughout the city, including Central Park. Regardless of the weight, this is a requirement for all operators to manually move their cart to where the permitted location is.
But Elena's question is a weight question, Alex.
Okay.
Are you going to be able to know the weight or give a weight limit? Can you add that if you do not have it now, a weight limit? Because our boardwalk is not Central Park. There is nothing like our boardwalk. So is that possible for you to consider that or include it?
So, you know, when we vetted these locations internally, because these are all, this boardwalk is maintained by the Parks Department as well. These are all locations where we believe that are feasible to support a variety of mobile food carts. And just so you're aware, the standard between a processing and a non-processing cart is not actually just about the weight. The processing and the non-processing food cart is about the type of food that's sold and how it's prepared. So for example, if you have, you know, the example that was mentioned before, like a food being cooked on site, yes, that is true, that is a processing cart. But also if you have something simple as a coffee cart, which does not require any type of cooking on site, a coffee cart, even a small one, is considered a processing cart by the city's health department. And those are relatively smaller and do not require as much equipment. So that's just an example. So a processing cart and non-processing cart, it has nothing to do with the weight. It's about what food is sold and how and what is prepared on site.
Okay, we understand that, but Jelena's question is a weight question.
Okay.
Can you set a weight limit, or is that possible? Because our boardwalk and the weight issue to this community board, at least to this Parks Department, is a vital issue. Is there a way you can accommodate that?
Sure, we will certainly take a look at, assuming we get a response to the RFB, we can take a look at the type of unit that they're intending to sell, to sell and to use on the boardwalk. And based on our review, if we feel that it cannot be accommodated at the location, then they'll have to, the operator will need to come up with a unit that will pass inspection and will be appropriate for that location.
Alex, I'm not asking you that. I'm asking you, can you include a weight in your requirements that would be for any cart on the boardwalk? This would include that in your RFP. And that way it would be better for our boardwalk if that could be included, whatever the Parks Department could say up to this weight. We're asking for that to be added. Yelena, is that clear?
Yeah, it's very clear. Also, since we are talking about RFP itself, you just mentioned that all other locations you are not planning to solicit. So I personally would like to see a new list of locations, because what I see now, I mean, actually I have a following question about West 27 and West 28, because big project is coming on next year. So it's no. But if you have only 4 locations, one of them, I believe it's kind of, I do not understand why, if aquarium has a restaurant on West 8, why would you put food cart next to it? So, I mean, once again, I remember all of those locations we discussed 5 years ago or 6 years ago, as you said. It was Brighton Force, it was Ocean Parkway, and I fought and you take them out, and some other locations next to amusement area. But West 8, to me, it's kind of questionable. If you have a restaurant there operated by aquarium, why would you put food cart? I don't know.
The only thing I could think of is because you have to be in the aquarium to eat. People from the outside, can they eat there?
Yes, they have location in boardwalk.
Right, so that's still working.
I mean, it was working last summer. I don't know
Okay,
what kind of
good.
plans they
Okay,
have.
great. All right. So Alex, can you answer that? Why there, if there is a restaurant there that people can get to from the boardwalk?
It's an amenity on the boardwalk. It does not require people to leave the boardwalk to get a bite to eat. We don't think that this is going to be detrimental to any other operations in the Coney Island area. You know, this is generally our standard approach when we solicit for food carts. If there are huge concerns from the actual businesses who are operating there, I'm happy to hear it.
Did you consult the aquarium on this issue?
I will double check and we'll ask.
Good, that would be great.
Okay.
And are you willing to bring back our weight issue also, please?
If there are recommendations from the community board on what the maximum weight should be, then we're happy to discuss that with the folks and our engineers
Okay.
to see if they
I
agree.
personally, I'm not that smart. Joe, you have an answer for that? Can't hear you.
We have Ida and then
Unmute.
Joanne.
Joe, I
Okay.
can't hear.
All
Okay.
right, now, okay. Now I forgot where I was going. What was it you were saying, Barbara?
About, I'm not smart enough to know a weight
Yeah,
limit.
okay,
How-
that's the point. You would think that the Parks Department would know the weight limits for that boardwalk and what can be and not be put on that boardwalk.
Well,
And the other thing I have to say is it's very obvious, you know, you're gonna put vendors on the boardwalk where there are already businesses. It stands to reason people are gonna buy a $2 hot dog instead of going over to Nathan's to buy a hot dog. So in all ways, you're taking away business from everybody on that boardwalk. That's it.
I just want to add, just jump in on that. It's not that the Parks Department itself doesn't understand its weight capacity. We do have an understanding. We do put it in play. It's been brought to the community by the community board as well, especially when we deal with movie shoots and things like that. So, you know, all that discussion will be included with Commissioner Marr and Alex's office on weight determination, what type of operation they'll have, size of carts and things like that, you know, to make sure that we're not doing any other damages and that it makes sensible for the operators to operate in the boardwalk as well as being feasible to the public.
Okay, Ida, and then you got Alan, and then Lolita.
Okay, two fast things. First of all, Brighton 15th Street, I think you're gonna get a lot of blowback. Oceana, Seacoast, they're not gonna be happy with it, especially if there are gonna be cooking odors. There's already been a problem that location with a fish market. They're gonna say it's gonna bring other people. That's number one. Number two, the big issue, enforcement. We have a huge problem now with illegal vendors on the boardwalk. Are we gonna have increased enforcement? Or is it that the vendor is gonna say, okay, there's a guy selling it at West 8th or West 19th or whatever, and we're just gonna pull up here too. And then we're told, call 311, and you gotta wait a year and a day. What's the enforcement situation gonna be?
Well,
Cap-
let me,
Captain,
me-
can you answer that since you're here?
sure.
My director's on the call as well.
Say it again.
Hi, so what he said is that he has his director. My name is Cynthia Thompson and I am the Park Enforcement Director. So I'm
Good.
on with him as well. So when we talking about the illegal vendors is what you mentioned about, correct? And this is an issue during the summertime. Is that what we're referring to?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I can say what we have done this year, because this year, based on all the complaints and meetings and stuff that you guys had already with our department, we have been doing a lot of addressing of illegal vendors where I understand from April the 1st, we started putting people out there and we'll look to do the same again. But I understand from April the 1st up into Memorial Weekend, it was very quiet, not a lot of issues that we got. And when in Memorial Weekend, that's when things started picking up. And we've been trying to have anywhere from 2 officers, and special days where there's maybe a lot of activity, we try to bring in additional resources. So we have had up to 20 officers. So basically based on what's going on out there. So if you guys are telling us that there's issues that's going on out there and we require additional officers, we try to bring in additional officers citywide, but this is based on the availability of officers that we have. We also work closely with the precinct, which Captain Mr. Takis can give more information on that because he was closely involved with all of this going on. And we have worked with other agencies, and we will continue again for the next season to work with the additional agencies so that way we can address the vendor problem. I understand it was we addressed a lot of issues there where a lot of summonses were issued addressing this condition, and plus our presence being out there helping to deter the situation. So we're going to continue to do that as the summer comes, like I said, and we look based on the information that you guys provided. So we try to put officers when available out in that busy season. But I have to also note that during that busy time, unfortunately, because of the beaches and a lot of closed sections, a lot of our staff that we have assigned also have to monitor the closed sections. But with monitoring that closed section, we have not forgot the concerns that you guys have brought to our attention, and we definitely have been addressing them. And I can say that we will be looking to address it again. So,
Thompson,
yes.
what about a number to call when we are there and we all there and see something? Is there a direct line to call you besides 311? Is there a direct way to get action?
Well, 311 would be the best route, and that goes directly to our 24-hour central communications line. So they will give it to us so we can respond, just say it's happening now, and there are dispatch officers out there. If we're not available right then and there to respond to that, then we reach out to the local precinct to be our backup to address the condition. But the 311,
I'm sorry,
yes.
with all due respect, okay?
Mhm.
I'm sitting in the same spot for 45 years now.
Okay.
Okay? I'm understand I'm loaded with illegal vendors. The park security is there. The vendors are operating right underneath their noses. Okay? They're selling hard liquor. They're selling to minors. They're selling weed. They're selling, you can get your hair braided. You could buy anything under the sun. And it didn't just start this year. It's getting worse every year. So my concern is if we're seeing, and you had even more parks security on the beach this year than last, because as you said, there were no lifeguards and they were out there to monitor, but they didn't do anything. So what is going to happen here when things keep going?
Right. So I hear what you're saying, but please understand that you're saying the park security, we have a big amount of the staff that's out there that cannot take action because they are just our summer seasonal to help monitor our closed sections of the beach. This is why we've been bringing in additional staffing. So you should have seen an increase of staff out addressing some of the conditions. Based on reports that I've seen came in, I mean, I haven't directly interact with this, but based on what I understand and what the reports that has been brought to my attention, we have addressed a lot out there. And if you telling me that there's things going on that we didn't catch or we didn't see that maybe we can do better, then I'm all ears to hear what it is so we can strategize for next year. But I think we did a good amount this year where that my officers issued 60 plus summonses just dealing with the illegal vendors, a couple of arrests dealing with the illegal vendors. So we've been out there, and this is just with the little amount of staff that we have that has the enforcement abilities to be able to issue summonses and make an arrest. So that's unfortunately, that's the difference. A lot of the seasonals that you see and they wear the tan shirts, they don't have enforcement abilities. All they can do is they see it, they'll call us and we address it. They'll sit and probably be able to tell them, oh, you can't be there. But the problem is that they're probably really not going to listen to them. So they will call us, which is why
I
we've been
haven't
having
seen
these
them.
things.
I haven't, they had green shirts. It said Park
Mhm.
Security. They weren't beige shirts. I don't
Okay.
know if it makes a difference. And I didn't even see them approach them to say, don't do this. And if they called anybody, I didn't see it because lots of times they were just in groups and seemed to be doing their own thing. So again, I'm out there practically every day. And if there was any increase or whatever, I sure didn't see it.
Okay, well, I'm sorry that you did not see it. And let me just correct it a bit. They did have the green polos. So that's the season I'm talking about. They do not have the ability to take enforcement action. So that's the seasonals that I'm referring to. And like I mentioned, they've been out there, they have seized over thousands of items just dealing with the illegal vendors. So our report does say they've been out there and they've been addressing the conditions. And what I'm right now, since Captain Mr. Takis and he's on, I'm going to let him to add some of the things that they did do over the season because he was directly involved with what was going on over the summer.
Yeah, we brought out a lot of staff from citywide in order to try to address these concerns. We heard the concerns. A lot of the seasonal staff that you're referring to, their focus is on the water for the closed sections where people are swimming in unpermitted areas. Our staff addressed a lot of the illegal vending concerns on the boardwalk. We did our best on the sand, which is more difficult. But the boardwalk, we saw a drastic reduction in illegal vending on the boardwalk. It wasn't perfect, which is an impossible task, but we observed a drastic reduction in illegal vending on the boardwalk. We issued a lot of summonses. We confiscated a lot of perishable goods, which we destroyed at our command. We vouchered over 100 toys over the summer. We had several arrests stemming from illegal vending. We were out trying to do our best with the vending.
Ida, you have more?
There were on Facebook, people set up full bars on the boardwalk. Full bars on the boardwalk. I've seen it myself, where they set up full bars with electric lights on the boardwalk. Maybe you're focusing on Coney Island. This is happening from Ocean Parkway east. So if you're doing more enforcement, great. But remember us folks on the other side of Ocean Parkway, because we haven't seen much of anything. And if you're bringing in more carts, we want to make sure they stay where they're supposed to stay and not go anywhere else.
Well, when those issues were reported to us, or when we first observed it, well, thankfully, NYPD from the 60th precinct was there to help respond and break them down quickly as soon as they set themselves up. And most of the times it was happening once the sun was down and once parks enforcement patrols of the boardwalk and the shoreline had ended. That's when these pop-up little bars were happening. Thankfully, people reported to us right away. Frank and his folks came out there with their supervisors, and they were able to quickly break them down. They've had some repeated occurrences, but thankfully it wasn't an all-night event. We were able to do that without much incident. And again, it's just something we have to continue working on. It's not just park enforcement. The NYPD does help us out, even though we're the first line of defense for the beach and boardwalk. And as long as folks continue to keep us in the loop, we'll continue to follow up.
Okay, next we have is Alan, Lolita, Chris, and Yelena. So please make it short if possible.
I will make it short. Good evening, everybody. Hello, everybody in the community board, my fellow members, and everyone from Parks Department. Larry, how are you? Nice to see you. Really briefly, I just would ask that common sense be used when these and if these permits are granted. Our businesses on the boardwalk, even the big ones like Nathan's and Dino's and Luna, they all struggle and they all need to sell concessions. So let us please consider, using common sense and not put a food vendor anywhere near any one of the businesses that are serving food in or around the boardwalk. We want to support our businesses on the boardwalk, I think, first and foremost. And if there are other items that can be sold other than competing items, that's what I would recommend these permits be granted for sale. Again, it's all about not competing with our cornerstone businesses, even our not cornerstone businesses, the smaller businesses as well. So I just ask again that we use common sense as to who is granted these rights to sell and what they sell and where they sell. That's it.
Would somebody from Parks like to comment on this issue, please?
Yes, I'm happy to respond to this. So I think, we do not want to create an adversarial relationship with any of the businesses along the boardwalk. In fact, for folks who are not aware, they actually receive parks permits to actually operate there as well. Luna Park is actually a leaseholding of the Parks Department. So there's no desire on our end to put anybody out of business. And the goal here is not to bring in vendors from other areas to compete and put these existing businesses out of business. The way I view it, and the way I would like you all to take a look at it, is these are business opportunities for existing businesses in Coney Island to be on the boardwalk in addition to their existing locations. So nobody's precluded from participating in this process. And if you have a satellite cart in addition to your restaurant on the boardwalk, I think it's better for their business. And oftentimes when we do these solicitations, it's very rare that somebody who's not familiar with the neighborhood or not familiar with the area and has never operated there to take the risk to come and operate in this new location. So oftentimes the most successful concessions in our parks are operated by local businesses. I have not heard of a single instance where a parks concession has put a brick and mortar out of business. It actually, if that's happened, I would want to know about it, because I think that's something that we should be aware of and try to address.
Alex, they're not saying out of business. They're saying competition, not out of business. You never said.
Understood.
That's all this is about, not out of business.
Understood. So, I think maybe by principle, I think, competition is part of a healthy, economic system. But I hear you. But again, what I view this as an opportunity for these existing businesses to have a satellite location on the boardwalk. One thing that I wanted to address in an earlier comment about the notice that we had sent. I'm looking at the notice now, and Eddie from CB13, I'd like you to respond to this if you can as well. The notice that we had sent on September 2nd only has these 4 locations that I had mentioned. I'm not sure where these other locations were mentioned in an earlier notice. No, but I don't know that we need to send a new notice. We've only notified CB13 of these 4 locations that I mentioned.
Everyone has gotten the 4 locations in the past, but what has happened was we sent out the revision, the one that was approved back in 2016, 2017, just so that we could compare to it. That was the only purpose for it, not to raise any issue. But it was reduced from 12 sites to 4 sites now.
Okay, I'm sorry, Eddie. But it's not true. I printed out memorandum address to Honorable Antonio Reynosa, President of the Borough of Brooklyn, to Lucy, Chair of Community Board 13, from Project Manager Kate Cagnata, Project Manager Revenue Division. Okay, I printed it. This is what you sent to us. It's nothing to compare. It's dated September 1st, 2022. Okay, so what was sent in 2017, if you wanted to compare, it would include Ocean Parkway, Brighton 4th, Brighton 6th, okay? So it's nothing to compare. This is what I printed from my computer. This is what you sent to us on September 2nd. So this is why I asked for a new one. This is why I asked for a new one. And also, I'm getting all of those RFPs on separate basis because as a bid director, I'm on a mailing list. So, and I got exactly the same one. So this is why I asked it to be corrected. Also, it was something about competition and extra opportunity. 5 years ago, I asked a question. So why don't you give an opportunity to Tatiana restaurant, to Volna, whatever, to vent on Boardwalk? I was told no, because people who can even apply and answer this RFP should have vendor license. Am I right? And most of businesses do not have any street vendor license. So how restaurant, if they do not have, unless some rules have changed, but how come existing business without vendor license can answer to this RFP? I believe many restaurants would love to take this opportunity to have satellite location, like you said, or cart, few feet away from their location and sell, let's say, some cheaper stuff. But I was told 5 years ago that only people with the vendor license can answer and apply for those RFPs. Correct? Please
Okay,
correct me if I'm
Alex,
wrong.
is that true or not for now? Do
I
you
think-
need a vendor's license? Yes or no?
No, you don't. So just to clarify, I think there's been a misunderstanding. I was at that meeting years ago. So this is the opportunity. This RFP is the opportunity for those businesses to operate satellite locations. There is no prerequisite that you need to already have the vendor license to respond to the RFP. Anybody can respond without having a license, but if you are selected, if you're the successful operator for that location, then you will need to get the appropriate licenses from the health department. But you do not need to have that in advance of proposing or bidding on these locations.
For all street vendors and vendors that have park permit, one is located by Ocean Parkway. The other one I know is located on Coney Island by the entrance next to Shorefront Y. They have 2 licenses. They have permit from health department, and they have the other license from Consumer Affairs, which is impossible to get. So you are telling us that only license from health department would be enough to operate cart on Boardwalk?
Yes, you need to get a mobile food vendor license. The successful bidder, you do not need this to bid, but if you apply and you're the successful bidder for that location, again, I think we need to, Eddie, I think maybe if you can circulate the notice that we had sent, because I'm only looking at I only see 4 locations on
Yeah,
it.
if you want to, I can circulate that among the.
That'd be
board
great.
members.
So you need to have a mobile food vendor license in order to operate a mobile food unit in the parks. It is not impossible to get that permit, but you first need to be the successful bidder for the location, and then the health department will issue you a mobile food vendor license for that location.
So you don't need any other licenses, correct?
In order to bid, you do not need any other licenses to bid.
No.
But if you're
In order to operate,
in order
you
to
do not need.
in order to operate, the bidder will need to apply for the appropriate license from the health department to operate a mobile food cart.
Right.
Okay.
Alex,
Larry, please speak. 1 minute. Let Larry speak, Elena. Go ahead.
no, it's a quick question to Alex. I think what Yelena was reference to was the certificate of authority from the Department of Consumer Affairs. Is that something that might be a requirement once they win a bid?
I think, Larry, nobody mentioned certificate of authority, but I'm happy to look into it. But
Okay.
these are not impossible permits to get. These are permits that are available if you're the successful bidder for a park location.
That's correct. Okay, thank you.
Who's next, Eddie?
We have Lolita, and then we have Christopher, and Yelena spoke with. Go ahead.
Hello, this is Lalita. I just have a quick question. That's not going to be long. I have a concern in regards to the sanitary condition of that these vendors are producing. Number one, the established locations on the boardwalk, they have their facilities to wash their hands and, their restrooms and things like that. And they also have their own litter boxes in which people put the trash, and mostly people at least sit, some of them sit and dispose of the trash right there on the businesses that are already established on the boardwalk. If we're adding these carts, the people inside the carts, I don't know how they wash their hands, how they're running to the bathroom. And also people, when they buy stuff from those vendors, they tend to just walk away and trash all over the boardwalk. There's a shortage of the people to pack the garbage from the Parks Department. I know they're short of staff. They just do what they can. This trash overflowing all over the place. Whereas, when people buy in established locations, at least those people are taking care of their own garbage to some degree. I know there will be people who would walk away. So my question is how those vendors are standing on the boardwalk will be conducting their hygiene and their personal needs, and also will they be responsible at least for cleaning up the garbage that is collected at least around them?
Those are great questions. Yes, to answer your last question first, if you are a legal vendor for the Parks Department, you are actually obligated by your agreement to clean up around your cart, whether it is your garbage or someone else's garbage. You are required to clean up and maintain the immediate area surrounding your mobile food cart. In terms of cleanliness, all of the mobile food units are required to be stored in a health department licensed commissary each night, where they're cleaned and then restocked and then delivered back to the park the next day. The health department has very specific requirements for the workers at these at the permitted and the legal locations, in terms of when they're allowed to use the restrooms, how they're required to sanitize their carts, and also to wash their hands and keep a sanitary location and operate that cart. So those are specific requirements that apply to every single licensed mobile food vendor, whether it be in Coney Island, or I know I said this before, or Central Park, or Flushing Meadow Park, or Rockaway Beach, or Staten Island, the FDR Boardwalk. The same rules apply to all of the mobile food vendors.
Thank you.
Lolita, that answers your question. And you have another thing, or you're good?
No, I'm good. Thank you so much.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Eddie, who's next?
Next is Chris.
Hi, guys. Question for you, didn't answer, because as I'm going to say the similar question, but it's a little different. When you're mentioning they're supposed to clean up their sites, there were times that when you were years ago when Community Board 13 was entering near not just the aquarium, but walking to that meeting, you will see a pile of garbage from those vendors. And there are times, forgive me, ladies, I'm going to say this word, but I never want to ever see a four-legged thing coming out of that garbage. And it doesn't look like they clean it up properly sometimes, or they're just rushing out. And I'm going to tell you this, and if you're going to say, should I call 311? I did, but I have to tell you guys, it's not going to solve 311 on this. This is when the beaches are closed. And there's one thing I'm going to use. When a wheelchair walker is trying to get to the ramp, the way the vendors are supposed to clean up, they don't clean up. And I heard earlier about enforcements. I am glad to see NYPD, but I like to see more of I've been in Coney Island, I've been into Brighton Beach, so I'm going to say this straight out. I have never seen a Parks Department officer. I see them in the Rockaways. And I can tell you, if I'm on the A train or the Rock Park shuttle, I have a telescope and I can find them faster. But it'd be nice to see them there, or making sure they're doing this. Because I'll tell you this, I've seen parks. When we had the Marty's concerts, I did see them over there. But since then, I have never seen a park officer at all. And second, when some of the bulwarks are breaking apart, I don't see warning signs out since it is parks issue. So please, let's try to work on making it a little more safety for seniors and people with disabilities and healthy and clean. Because you can say it's being clean, it's being done, but I lived over here for almost now 39 years. And I can tell you this, I'm embarrassed to go smelling garbage that doesn't look like it's been picked up. So can we please work on that? Thank you.
Alex, would you bring that back? And Parks is here. Ms. Thompson, you also just realize what they're saying and let's see if we can make it better next time, okay?
Okay, that's
Yes,
actually not an Alex thing. That's not an Alex thing. That is us when we do our mobilization and cleanup throughout the summer and during the overnights. And we also work in conjunction with the Department of Sanitation. That being that each business that operates in the boardwalk has to have a refuge area that's kept out of sight, that's maintained regularly, and has scheduled pickups through a private carting service, not us. When we do find when vendors are not in compliance, or my seasonal supervisors are trained in the beginning of the season that if they see a vendor dropping their garbage or bags by our pails, let us know, and then we'll inform the vendor. Either we speak to them directly or we reach out to Alex's office, and his office will follow up as well. But sanitation has been very helpful, especially when they have to place refuse at the end at street ends. That's something that they've helped us out. Where if they're putting it out too late, then sanitation will follow up, and they will write summonses. They have the ability to do so.
Thank you, Larry. Okay, so now, Chris, that answers your questions, how it works, and hopefully every year it'll get better. Great. Okay, Eddie.
I'm sorry. This is Thompson again. So
Okay.
he's saying that he doesn't see officers out on the boardwalk is what he's referring to, because a lot of the staff, because of the closed section, which I did mention, and Captain Mr. Takis did touch bases on that as well. They out near the shoreline. So that's where the majority of the staff is, to prevent people from drowning. So a lot of the staff you're not going to see on the boardwalk. Do they do patrols on the boardwalk? Yes, they do the patrols on the boardwalk, but the majority of the staff focused for the summer is by the shoreline to prevent drownings. But I did note exactly what he said, so thank you.
Eddie, is there anyone else who has a comment or a question?
Lucy has her hand up. Lucy, go ahead.
Thank you, Susan. I wasn't trying to take the meeting over. Barbara and everyone else, I apologize for my lateness. B74 was taking forever to move. Barbara, do you mind, and if it's okay with everyone, if people say, oh my God, here we go, can you just give me bullet points on what has occurred here this evening? So I'm the chair of the community board, and can someone just give me quick bullet points?
Sure, sure, I'll be happy.
Thank you.
So we discussed weight limits of these carts, that they should be aware of them and make some kind of threshold because of the boardwalk. We asked them about the aquarium. Did they contact, and to please contact them about having the vendor on West 8th Street. We spoke about illegal vendors and how we would like more Parks Department issuing and working. And Ms. Thompson said that what their main job is to keep people from drowning, which is a major issue, I understand. I asked her what the direct way to call her is, and she said 311 is the best way to call parks for illegal vendors and things on the boardwalk. And that they should get in touch with people where the businesses are. They're planning to do it on Brighton 15th, West 32nd, West 19th, and West 8th Street. And that they should make sure that the vendors, the people who have stores on the boardwalk are not upset about all this.
Okay, I think I came in during that time, so I thank you very much for the bullet
no
points.
problem.
But, so my question is, and I should know this, but I don't know it, so I apologize. This RFP, so what do you need from, what do they need from the community board, for these 4 locations? Or nothing, or this is just FYI?
It was an FYI, and we were actually asked to, Parks was actually asked to attend to answer questions, and so that's why, that's why we're here.
And if the community feels that these this is something that's not suitable for our community, what would be the next step that we can do?
I think,
or we don't have a next step?
I think the appropriate thing to allow us to do is to give us a chance. We have not had.
That wasn't my question, sir. My question is, if the community and this community board does not feel that this is a fit for our community, what would be our step?
Well, you can write us a letter and we would take a look at it.
Okay, I'm going to, Barbara, I'm gonna ask them to come to the full board meeting because I think this is a very hefty topic that many are really concerned about. And unfortunately, when the agenda went out, it probably wasn't just as clear, but I think I want to hear from more of the community on this, which we usually have about 50 people. Is that okay for someone to arrive? I will promise you, I try to run my meetings really smoothly. I will not allow anyone to attack you guys because the parks and the boardwalk is a very sensitive situation in this community. Will you be able to attend our monthly meeting next week?
If you can let me know what day and what time it is, I'll do my best to attend.
I believe it is scheduled, sorry, I have a hefty calendar. It is the 26th on Zoom.
Okay.
At what time?
7 p.m.
And Lucy, I'll be there because right now, Pep and I are acting as a sergeant at arms, so that way Alex doesn't get beat up with any questions that he can't answer.
I'll try not to beat you up this month, Larry.
That's all right.
It's not about me. It really is about what I see up there personally. And, I see more vendors than I see tourists.
Mm-hmm.
More illegal vendors than I see tourists. And I do get the point. You guys want to make this legal. I get it. I get the whole thing. I get it. It would be remarkable. But then I also see the other end, excuse me, Eddie. I also see the other end on, as other people have mentioned, making sure that everything's clean, make sure that the garbage picked up, make sure rats, et cetera, et cetera. But that's an ongoing thing regardless.
Right. And they're all legitimate concerns.
So Eddie, you have something to say?
Yes, just real quick. The last time this was offered back in 2009 or 2020, only one vendor actually picked up the RFP. And
you know why one vendor picked up? Because they have to pay for the licenses.
Yes, but they picked up out of 12
Let me finish my
locations.
sentence. You rather not pay for something and then just do everything done illegal. So let's get realistic.
Understood.
If you're not paying taxes on anything, you're gonna be out there instead of worried about bidding.
Just letting people know that it wasn't a big pull from the rest of the city to come down to Coney Island. So it was only one that was actually used out of the 12 spots that were given. So just to give you a little background on that. So when we cut it down to 4, we might not even get one. Just giving you a fact there.
Okay, I appreciate that you're giving the background, but if you're cutting it down to 4 and if only one applies and one gets in, it is all about these vendors not wanting to be legal. You know what? If I'm on the boardwalk selling you listen, it's ridiculous. I'm selling water, I'm selling hot dogs, I'm selling every mother thing up there, and I'm not paying taxes. Why would I apply for this? Why? And then I'm not even getting ticketed. They're getting away with murder. They're doing whatever they want up there. The music, I don't even want to get started on the whole thing. I think you guys heard everything prior to this, but I really would appreciate it if you can come to the full board meeting on the 26th. And I promise you that I won't attack you and give the same presentation.
Alex, I hope you don't feel that we attacked you.
Well,
Well, I
what
didn't
I-
start, Barbara. I really was really nice. I could have went all the way. And trust me, when it comes down to the boardwalk and when it comes down to these illegal vendors, it is, and yes, it's recorded, it is hell, living hell up there, living.
Well, we did discuss this issue before you came. And Ms. Thompson had explained to us that there are many people they hire for the summer that are not allowed to give out tickets or arrest. All they're allowed to do is inform whoever's working that something's going on. So there's a problem with not enough people who could do that, which is a city problem. And I'm not sure we have a good answer. Ms. Thomas, does it come down to money? Joe, you're next. Does it come down to money?
No, I mean, Barbara, we've seen out throughout the years of what we've been experiencing with lifeguards, and post-pandemic didn't help very well when you can't get folks, and this is not just a New York City problem, this is nationwide, where we just can't get enough people to do that. And anything the board can, we send you flyers and campaign posters, anything you can do to help spread that information. I'm sure we'll be reaching out to schools and locally, but anything that we can do to get folks to come in and apply and get trained and become lifeguards is something we've always welcomed from years, and that will certainly help the problem, because PEP won't have to sit there and monitor 16 bays that are closed in an off-peak week, and they can focus their attention on more quality of life issues rather than just water safety, which is equally important.
Joe, you had something to say?
Yeah, I do. Not many people may like it, but I think it's time that we stop being the nice guy. And well, we can't do this and we don't have the money. And well, somewhere something has to be done. Lucy is absolutely right. It's absolutely hell on that boardwalk, and it's only getting worse, and nothing's getting done to rectify it. So my feeling is, if we can't get satisfaction locally, then we go over their heads. And I don't care who we go to, if we go to the tap, but something has to be done. And we can't just accept, well, we have, but we don't have enough, and they have to be here and they can't be there. That's crazy. That's absolutely insane. And it's not going to get anything solved. It's only going to make it worse until we make a stand and we go to whoever it is we have to go to get heard. And that's what I have to say.
Let me just add to that. So it's not saying that we're not doing nothing. I did mention that we are doing something and we are addressing it, and we have even brought in additional staffing from other boroughs just to address the illegal vending condition. So we are aware of the condition, we are addressing it, we understand it's ongoing, and I think that we did made a big impact. I'm surprised that no one's saying that they seen that, but we have been addressing it. We've been working with other agencies to address it, with PD, 6.0, they special unit that they have to help us address the conditions. Like I said, a lot of property was seized out there. A lot of summonses were issued out there. So I didn't say we're not addressing it. We are addressing it, but it was said earlier that I see security staff that's standing out there and not doing nothing. And what I wanted to note was that security staff is staff that with limited law enforcement powers. So they are normally eyes and ears, and they're assigned to close sections of the beach. We do have additional staffing, which is mainly like supervisors and stuff that's out there that does have enforcement abilities, and they go out there and they address when they see it. But the condition is a little overwhelming, which is why at times that we had to bring in additional staff. We just don't have enough staff to keep them out there every day. But I understand that we tried to keep at least 2 people just patrolling the boardwalk just because of the illegal vending issue. And besides the summonses, sometimes with the presence, if they see the uniform presence out there, it tends to deter them. So we try to use deterrent mechanism with people out there present and summonses being issued. So we have been addressing it. So no mistaking that we have not been addressing this condition.
Ms. Thompson, thank you very much. My question that I ask Larry at every meeting is, can someone please tell me how many summonses have been issued within the previous 2 years?
Actually, you missed it earlier.
Oh, sorry. As I said, I
No, that's
apologize.
okay.
I was on the bus. I would have not taken everyone's time to repeat things.
That's okay. Director Thompson was just sharing those numbers earlier. Can you just go over what we have with arrests, confiscations, and things like that again?
She doesn't need to go through a whole list. I just want to know how many summonses were issued.
Well, it was 64 plus summonses that was issued for this season, 2022, and about 50 plus issued in 2021. And this is just targeted for the illegal vending only.
And don't you find that low? With all respect. I mean, I'm 4 feet 11 and I can find 50 people out there on my own.
No,
I don't know how many, staffers you have.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm assuming you have more than one. I'm just gonna say 20.
Mm-hmm.
So and trust me, I've seen videos on your staffers being beat up, and I want to protect them as well. And as I said, I personally can see over 100 just when I walk up there. So for one staff to receive 50, and you have a staff of 15, 20 people, I'm sorry, I think those numbers are very low. But with that being said, I would appreciate it if you would send Eddie the information as to who we can write to higher up and telling them, hey, next season, let's get something going. Every time we write to the 6-0, seems like they always give a detailed police a little bit more. 1 year was 100, 1 year was 99, 1 year was 75, but it always increases. So as you said, we need to work together. So who can we, or what doors can we knock on to help us?
Well, I mean, you mentioned you can continue contacting the local precinct, but we've been doing that and we've been working with the precinct. So the precinct has been very helpful and been coming out and helping us. And when we talk about the summonses, that's just not the only thing, because remember, the presence make a difference. So if you have a bunch of officers out there and you have PD out there as well, they less likely to take any action. They're less likely to sell. So sometimes it's the presence that makes the difference. So you may say the summons count is low, but it don't count for us being out there, putting in the hours and providing the presence and preventing the activity from happening. And then sometimes it may not be summonses issues. Sometimes because they're illegal, they sit and they leave their stuff behind and they abandon their property. Yep. So what we do is we seize it. So there's different things that we've taken, different measures that we've taken to address it. So it's just not a low number of summonses, is what actions that we are taking to deal with it.
And include
video. I expect to be chair for the next year and a half, but I have an open mouth and I have a big mouth. So maybe somewhere along the line, somebody will remove me.
Not gonna.
But when it gets warmer, I'm gonna ask you or anyone, is it possible that I walk with you on these boardwalks, especially on a Friday night when the fireworks are there and someone shows me of what I'm seeing and what you're telling me, that these people run away every time they see you?
Sorry, it's very common.
I know it might be a safety issue that I can't do it, but
well, Lucy, let me just give you a good example. And I've been dealing with this for over 15 years at Coney Island, on and off. And my times working with PD and with PEP. When they see us as individuals, especially in these now day and age where people don't feel that the laws apply to them anymore, there's not a quick reaction. But if we were walking around in group with sergeants and officers, and they see what we're doing, that's the reaction that we see. They drop and abandon their property and then they leave. Doesn't mean they go away forever. They just wait for us to leave and then they follow up again. And as I keep saying all the time, it becomes a cat and mouse game. Right. And, it's just a matter of catching.
Larry, I get that. We have another season coming up.
Right.
I know it's a safety issue, but my 4 feet, 11 inches, if there's possibly, I can walk one day with you guys, and I really would like to see it with my own eyes. that these people will move away. They're not moving away. They're not moving away, especially on Friday night. I can't even squeeze, and I'm 4 feet 11 and 126 pounds. I can't even squeeze through these people. And I've seen workers, which they're entitled to look at the fireworks as well. And they're there. And I don't expect them to go through a whole brick crowd, because obviously it's going to be a whole craziness. You know, people are going to get beat up, et cetera, et cetera. But may I do a walkthrough with you?
Well, that's something we can discuss, but you got to keep in mind too, Lucy, our park enforcement is not there at 10 o'clock at night when we're doing fireworks. You know, if there's something that the PEP commanders can work out where they can create a detail and do a walkthrough, I mean, you'll see that reaction. I mean, it was once a sign of respect when even myself would come down the boardwalk of the beach in an ATV, and people in carts and pull wagons would run away from me because they knew I was the person.
Absolutely. I agree with that. They don't respect the police. They don't respect anyone. I agree with that.
Without getting into detail, that fear is now gone right now because of the fact that, you know, we're going to continue doing enforcement. We'll confiscate. We'll do everything within the full extent of enforcement laws that we can work with. But the laws that we're battling those with the courts have completely changed the game. And it almost feels like folks have amnesty, because if we give you if we lock you up and we bring you to the place, you're only going to be out a few hours later just to repeat the whole charge again. And until you do something terribly, you know, a bad result, that's not going to change. And that's something your folks as a community, citywide or however, you know, need to talk to elected officials about, you know, about.
All right, Larry and Lucy, it seems to me what.
A different conversation.
It
Okay,
seems
I'll
to me
let
what
it
you're
go,
saying.
Barbara. I let it go. I'm repeat. Larry will probably let me know if I can go on one of these walkthroughs.
That's not what I'm saying, Luce. What I'm saying is, if he says about laws, then we should go to our council member and discuss some kind of upgrade so that things could get better. So that's
Is there
maybe
a
what
we can find out if we can get
from the
people there
council
after
member
10
on
o'clock.
this meeting? Is there a representative from the council member on this meeting?
No, he's too busy changing his party.
Joe, you wanted to say something too?
Yeah, well, you know, I don't know. You know, everybody knows I bleed blue. And if we have a problem in the police department in a precinct, then we fly and we go to a precinct when there's a problem. I don't understand why we have to go on a July 4th weekend or any weekend in the summer where we can't get extra people in here, park enforcement, but park enforcement that can do something. And the fact that they're not here at night is absolutely ludicrous, because that's when we have our problem. So again, I would say we have to go to somebody higher up and find out why we can't get them here at night. Police work at night, they're parking, their enforcement. Why are they privileged to work 9 to 5 or whatever it is? And at night during the summer, on the weekends, like firework night, like Lucy said, is when we need them here. Not at 11 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday.
Thank you, Joanne. So we'll work with Larry and maybe Ms. Thompson if Eddie has her contact to give us contacts higher up, and we'll write nasty, beautiful letters that will be shredded and no one would give a hoot until somebody gets killed. But, you know.
Well, that's unfortunately, that's what's going to happen.
That happens everywhere in life.
Yeah.
But I apologize for having you guys to repeat it. I was actually pretty kind because I didn't want to attack Larry again. And Ms. Thompson, if I attacked a little bit, it's just because, listen, I see it up there. They don't respect you guys. They don't respect the police. They don't respect anyone. But I can't walk the walk and do the talk, as I think that's the phrase that goes. And that's why I'm requesting if it would be possible that I could actually be there at one moment, and you guys let me know. Thank you.
Yeah, Lucy, can I say one more word? I just want.
I don't know. This is Barbara's meeting. I'm staying quiet now.
Barbara, I just want to say one thing. I don't want Larry or I'm sorry, but I don't remember your name, the officer in charge, to take this personally, because this is not you. This is above you. This is way above you. And that's where we have to go. For you to take the brunt of this, it's not your fault. It's the people above you that are not doing what they have to do. So I just want you to understand that this is not personally against either one of you.
Well, Larry, you know, you've been here for such a long time.
Too long.
You've lived through all this. You know how we are and what we feel, and you feel similarly. So,
And listen, I agree with everything. I don't denounce anything that's been told, where it happens and how it happens. We do what we can. We're not park enforcement is there. It's good to have them in place. They're not a precinct, unlike NYPD, where we have 40 officers reporting every day to one location. It would be ideal that Coney Island would love to have that, but right now, those numbers are just not there.
I also want to note that it's not only summonses that we were doing. We also destroyed a lot of perishable goods this summer. There were over 1,000 items destroyed, mangoes, churros, and I was personally involved with that. I personally had my hands on them, putting them in the garbage containers and destroying them. I personally was involved in several arrests this summer that stemmed from illegal vending. Also, we vouchered over 100 toys taken from the boardwalk. We're not just not doing anything.
Maybe you guys can work with immigration and try to get them together and teach these people that, if you do something legal, when you retire, you'll get a check. You know that? You don't, you'll get something in the long run, as opposed to trying to beat the system. I'm just giving it out there. For me, I'm going to let you know what I'm going to say to the board members on Wednesday. Sorry, I have so many meetings. On Wednesday, I'm going to request that we write a letter that this is not placed on our boardwalk. And I'm going to, once I hear from the members, if they want it, then I'll say, hey, okay. If they don't want it, I'm going to request that we send the letter saying we don't want you. Eddie, sorry, you said one person is too many for me. But again, I have to hear. Sorry, I ran up the steps when I got home. I have to hear from the community, from the committee. I mean, the board members. So that's my vision, and I'm just letting you know so you're not surprised on Wednesday.
May I ask, just so I'm clear, why would you not want legal vendors?
One extra vendor, rather they're legal, they're not legal. I don't want them up into everybody's damn legal. Get rid of the illegal ones, and then for me, you can give me 100 legal ones. And it's not you. Talk to the higher up.
But we understand. I think all the people here from the parks we're all trying to do the right thing, and I think we're all trying to be good soldiers and make the best of the resources that we have. Because I handle concessions in other parks and in other boroughs. I know that Coney Island is a big challenge, and it's my colleagues who are in Coney Island and on the enforcement side, on the M&O side, I really feel for them because it is a thankless job. Compared to other park locations and other beaches in the city, Coney Island is, during the summer months, is the only 24/7 maintenance and cleaning job in the entire park system. So I know it's a huge undertaking. But it's never enough, and I totally hear you all on that. We're all trying to do the best with what we've got, and this RFB, and I really I understand you guys don't like it. You didn't like it 6 years ago either, and I don't expect. I'm not under the illusion that I'm going to convince you that we should try it. But this was our thought as a potential opportunity to become legal for the folks who aren't legal. And for the folks who are operating businesses or want to operate businesses in Coney Island, this was the legal path to do it. But it's not just the only solution, and it comes with enforcement, and there's a maintenance requirement as well. And we're all trying to do our the best of in our abilities and with the resources that we've got. So I appreciate all of your feedback. There's nothing personal. I've been here with the Parks Department for 16 years. I think all of my colleagues here, we all have thick skin and steel jaws. So, you don't have to hold back. We understand your frustration, and I'll do my best to be at your meeting next week. And I'm happy to hear you all out. I understand, that you don't want this, and you've let me know, and, I'll take that up the chain on my end as well.
No, I said I didn't want it. That's why I'm going to listen to the people on Wednesday.
Understood. Okay.
I don't speak without them speaking to me. I don't send anything out without the members agreeing. That's just my way. I don't feel it's fit. I feel that everyone should work together to get these illegal vendors off our boardwalk. Teach them how to become legal. I'm personally, I'm a living example. My husband's an immigrant, and I got him an attorney, and he got his TPS within, I would say, 9 months, and then his work authority permit within 9 months as well. So it can be done. And there was nothing extra to be cost. So the money that they're making on this boardwalk, it can be done. Maybe we can work with that agency. We're saying we give people information, give them that information, and we can help them with that. But again, this is my personal opinion.
Does anybody else have a comment or a question, Eddie? Because I can't see everybody.
Well, I have new business when you're ready for that.
Okay. Does anyone have anything else to say about this topic? Eddie, can you tell me?
It looks like everybody is satisfied for now until Wednesday. So I guess.
All right, I thank Parks for coming.
Wait,
We
I think
still love you.
Hey,
Don't
Parks,
forget
they're
that.
not to leave yet. I got new business. They can't
New business
escape.
for them.
Well, can
Okay.
we excuse Alex then?
Yes.
I don't think he has to be involved in this.
No.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Alex, for coming.
And Kat, thank you.
Thanks,
very much.
everyone.
And Kat, you too. Okay, go
And
ahead.
keep Pep, give me Pep. Okay,
Pep
Larry
is
is
here.
aware, but I don't know who else is aware. A neighbor told me recently that there's been an ongoing problem underneath the Shade Pavilion at Beach Walk. It started in the summer. It starts on either a Friday night or a Saturday night, sometimes a Sunday. A DJ sets up with speakers. The party starts anywhere between 10 and 11 p.m., continues till 3 a.m. Last Saturday, it included picking up all the boardwalk trash barrels and throwing them around. He's reported it to 311. He said other neighbors have reported it to 311. He hasn't seen anything done. A couple of weeks ago, he got really frustrated and called me at 11 o'clock at night. And I was able to get someone from PD to come down and address the situation. But this situation is continuing, and we know it's continuing. So I'd like to know what is going to be done to address this situation. Same location. Again, it's either on, sometimes it's a Friday night, sometimes it's a Saturday night. Occasionally it's a Sunday, but it's just about every weekend now. And the location is the same.
Okay, so thank you. This is the first I'm hearing of this situation, so it has been noted. And Captain, I'm going to work with Captain Mr. Takis, who's on this call as well, so we can send someone out during the weekend, during this time frame, to see what it is that's going on.
Okay, now here's another thing. We're always told to call 311. Okay, My neighbor is a very reliable person, and if he told me he has reported this to 311, I know that he's reported it. And he told me that other people have reported it to 311, and yet nobody seems to know that these reports. I mean, this is not your fault. This is a problem, and this is an illustration of why people say, "Oh, we're going to call 311." People feel it's a waste of time. So I'm glad, again, so somebody should find out why these 311 reports are not filtering down to somebody who can take action on it. He said this is all summer.
Well, up until recently, when you folks informed me about this about a couple of weeks ago, I'm sorry, Cynthia, I didn't copy you on the email, but I did forward it to Director Falcone and Commissioner Rodriguez in regards to that. We'll still continue to follow up on that as well. But we do. I mean, the 311 just doesn't go to the maintenance and operations. It also, if it's an enforcement issue, it does get shared with enforcement. But what's most important, you can do this anonymously, but most times when I see 311s, they don't really give a clear location. They just tell you what the incident is. They'll tell you it's on the boardwalk, and sometimes they're not specific. So it's hard to follow up. when someone is anonymous to get more information, to call directly to get a better sense of what's happening. But you, of course, have been giving us more details than anything. So, Director Thompson's office will follow up and with her folks. And
Okay, because he said last Saturday night again, but he couldn't get hold of me. And yet, as you know, we had a party on the beach this summer. Was on the beach or on the boardwalk, one of these DJ parties, and 5 people got shot. So
well, that was not related to us. That was individuals who were attending an event over at the Old Child's restaurant. And then after that event was over, they continued to loiter on the beach. And that's where that incident spurred from. It wasn't from any amplified sound device activity permit.
well, this guy isn't this whoever's making these parties at 11 o'clock at night and continuing to 3 o'clock in the morning. He doesn't have permits either. He's just doing it. And again, it's when they're starting to pick up the big garbage cans and start throwing them around, it's really getting crazy. So we want to, neighbors said they want to get a handle on this before anybody, God forbid, gets hurt.
Okay.
So
Are you-
Ida, it has been so noted to whoever is here tonight, and hopefully now we will get some real action. They know exactly where it is. Correct, guys?
Yes,
Correct.
but can I ask a
Right.
question? Is this happen? You seeing this every weekend or this is
He
sporadic?
said it's my neighbor who faces that way. He said it's every weekend. He says that sometimes it's a Friday night, sometimes it's a Saturday night, rarely it's a Sunday. Usually it's one night on the weekend. It starts between 10 and 11 p.m. and continues till 3 a.m. And the location is always the same. It's the Shade Pavilion at the foot of Beach Walk. So I guess someone's going to have to watch that location on weekend evenings between those hours.
Right, and that's just east of Ocean Park.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, so we'll have someone look into it.
Thank you.
We thank you
I'll tell
very
them.
much. Is there anything for new business besides Ida? Anything else anyone wants to say before we take a motion to close the meeting? All right. Does anyone second the motion to close the meeting? Okay, thank you, Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Okay, thank you very much. And please remember, we do this because we love Coney Island, and that's our only motivation. Thank you all for coming. Have a great night.
Thank you,
Thank
folks.
you.
Get Brighton.
Good
We
night.
live here too.
Good sorry, babes.
Good night,
We
guys.
were just discussing.
Thank God.
All right, Lucy, you got it? You can log off.